It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I love talking. You are the big picture guy. I'm kind of the details in how to actually implement and affect the change that we're talking about. So I'm excited to be able to share, the things that we've kind of talked about and that we've got prepared. I think hopefully we spark some ideas, inspire some creativity, and inspire for people to kind of take a look at their clinic, at their business, and figure out ways to be more effective, more efficient at getting in front of more people, being able to nurture those and educate them and convert those into patients. Because I think the work that is being done inside the clinic is invaluable in terms of just quality of life and allowing people to be able to get back to do the things that they love doing, being able to continue doing those things for many, many years to come. So I'm excited to kind of dig in and always get into the weeds in some of these things. We've talked a lot of high level stuff the last couple of times we've got together, but today I think we're going to get in the weeds and kind of start to look at some specific strategies and tactics and as ways to kind of affect the change that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's funny how this come about, right? Because Chess and I meet on a weekly basis, and our conversation get really, really juicy, and it get my brains going. I'm like, oh man, like we both just come like, we should just do this live. At the end of the day, we get to document our journey, right? I mean, the same thing as what Alex Hormozi is doing, which we all inspired by him and what he's able to do. So to be able to leave again some clue for you guys to follow, so so that way we can just keep building up this whole profession, right?
Yep.
Like, high tide raise all ships, and that's what we want to do.
Yep. Totally. Totally.
All right, bro. Let's get it. Let's get right into it. I'm
Right.
I'm ready to go.
I'm gonna share my screen. All right.
All right. So you guys know about the whole movement that I've been trying to do, and then Chestin's helping me out with this. Is we're trying to build a group of clinicians. Again, identity wise, I like to look at myself as a badass clinician, right? And I want more of us to be out there. The reason being is that in healthcare, we don't really have that much control. We think we do, but really don't. At the end of the day, we are beholden to the big insurance company, the big healthcare system, and that's why we're having a hard time fighting back, right? Because if insurance dictating how much we're getting paid, right, and then healthcare system dictate like how much time we get to spend to see our patient, how can we really control our own destiny, right? We are beholden to the big corporation, big system that we're a part of, right? I mean, I remember when I was in PT school, I thought this was it for me, right? Being a staff PT, working my way up the corporate ladder, so I don't have to start my own business. I mean, I saw my parents work tirelessly day and night owning a Thai restaurant. I didn't want that life for myself. But then the worst part about it is that to work in a big corporate setting, seeing like 3 to 4 patients an hour a day, I have to sacrifice a piece of my soul and my values. So that's why rather than going to another company, changing, polos to a different logo, doing exact same thing, I say, you know what, I might as well just make this leave and then just build something worthwhile pursuing, right? By all means, I'm going to tell you guys right now, it is not easy. It is hard, right? That's a disclaimer. I'm not going to come in and tell you guys like all you have to do is run ads. All you have to do is just, like create like a funnel or like create like a follow-up nurturing sequences. And next thing you know, patients are going to show up on the door, because that's not how it is. Like I've been doing this for 6 years, right? And each year as we ascend up in our success, we reach different milestone. We hit 7 figures 2 years ago. We're dealing with different problems, and that is a blessing, right? The one saying I say to myself every single day, and before I talk to Chestin, with any problem we have, is that listen, I pray for time like this. I pray for the kind of problem I have right now. So as you guys are listening to this, right, think about the problem you're dealing with, and understand that as you're going through the trenches, A, you're not doing alone because we have a community. And B, knowing that your job is to make sure you grow your problems and you're not dealing with the same problem, right? So this is the whole point of building this kind of community. So I want to get into the whole identity mindset, right? Just because you can't get from point A to point B without upgrading your thinking. And, when we're, making this graphic for you guys, this is exactly what I went through, right? I mean, I spoke at length with Chestin about this too. Like, when you're a PT student, you're just a professional student that happened to learn things about the human body, clinical skill that get you to, frankly, pass the boards. That's what PT school are teaching you to do. They're teaching you to just be really good at a baseline skill and really good at test taking. So when you take your licensing exam, you are passing that licensing exam, and therefore the PT school actually keep getting credential and getting more people to come in, right? But then afterwards, there's always this gap between going from a student to going to being an employee, right? Now, when you're in a real world scenario, the thing you learn in PT school, you can probably discard 80% of it, right? So I was ortho focused. So I want to do like the return to sports stuff, ACL, UCL, active population, CrossFit athletes, weightlifting. Like if I learn stuff in when it comes to pediatric, right? I'm not going to use that. So you have to always doubling down and niche yourself in when you're becoming someone employee as well, right? And that's why I found my journey. Going from like the student to employee was the first mindset that I had to shift. Like, what can I do to bring value to the company that's paying me? So that way I'm no longer replaceable. And how do I attract the right kind of clients to come on my schedule rather than all the other PTs, right? The clinic I was with, it was so busy that we all were just fighting to keep the patient we want to see, right? I want to see more active population. I have to specialize in return to sport, in more performance-based, physical therapy, right? And then as I ascend up, I know for a fact that if I want to see the patient and treat them the way I want to treat, which most of you guys are dealing with right now, and right now you're kind of sacrificing a piece of your soul to do so, you just realize that this is not it. Like the whole setting, the corporate setting that you have in front of you, you're in, it's not sufficient enough for you to treat the way you want to treat, right? So that's when I took the lead to actually become a solo practitioner, right? This is when I bootstrapped it, get a portable table, put it in a closet of a CrossFit gym. And that's how I started Myokinetix. It's all organic. I mean, I maxed out my credit card to do so, to get all the equipment that I need. And then paying rent, I remember the scariest thing was to actually pay rent, right? Because now, not only I don't have stability of income coming in, I actually have money to put outside. So it became real to me when I actually signed that lease, right? And no, as you are setting up the ladder, at some point you start hiring people, and that's when you become a small business manager, which is the best way to put it, because you don't really entirely run your business. You're just a manager of your business, right? Because everything still fall on you. I was doing all the lead follow-up. I was doing all the benefits verification. I was doing all the conversion. I was doing all the treating, right? So these are things I do. So you're just managing your business. At that point, you're not even a business owner yet, right? Now, where we like to come in, when it comes to doing this podcast, doing this live, is that leap right there that you see. I call that the abyss, right? That's, if you look historically speaking, if you love business, you like to study that, that's where most business either gonna fold or stay where they are, right? People who are watching this know a handful of people who took the leap to start their own practice, and within the next 3-4 years, they just kind of stay the same, right? There's no ascension, there's no scaling, they're just staying there, right? Or if you decided to take the leap to plunge in, to invest in knowledge, invest in growth, invest in partnership, that's when you can actually ascend to be the clinic CEO, which means you're actually hiring people, you're outsourcing some of the tasks that you do on a daily basis, you win your time back. But the one myth when it comes to hiring people think that once you hire someone, you don't have to touch that task ever again. But the reason why I say it's a myth is that you always have to keep people accountable, right? Because they're not going to do as good as a job that you can do. You still need to teach them. You need to have a tool to onboard people. Majority of the time when I start hiring people, I spend more time just teaching them. You figure, right? Hey, if I spend X amount of money to get people in and they're going to do that job for me, now I have all this time. I'm free. I can do all these other things like treating or marketing, or getting out there to meet other doctors, other referring partner, but not really. You still have to do that, but then you have to come back and you have to actually keep training your team. So you don't have a resources that help you train and onboard your team, or even like an SOP. You're still going to be managing the business, right? The whole goal is that how do you build a team that is self-sufficient, that will do the right thing at a high standard that you set, so that way you can go out and do all these things. And for me, it's all about brand building, right? Becoming the local expert where people are not thinking twice about who they need to send someone to. When it comes to ACL, I want them to think about like, all right, I'm sending to Natty and his team, right? And that's how I start becoming a CEO of a business, right? You know, the biggest leap for me was I happen to be a CEO of Myokinetix, and I'm also a physical therapist. Before I was a physical therapist who happened to own a business. So there's a two different mindset shift, right? And then now if you're scaling up even more, you become a clinic owner. That's kind of like Jeff Bezos becoming a board director of Amazon, right? He's not on the day to day. He's doing the high level strategy. He's doing the high level stuff to make sure that he's maximizing his time, right? The one thing I've learned is that it will cost Jeff Bezos more money to pick up $100 bill because he generates that much more per second. And that's how you want to look at it, right? When it comes to resources, it's like, how do you exchange money for your time? But in order to exchange money for your time, you have to have a lot of money coming in, right? In order to scale, you need to have money coming in. And then at that point, where I'm inspired to be is freedom entrepreneur. This is where I get to venture into different things that actually coincide with my business, right? I'm not venturing things that doesn't make sense. I'm not and I have done that in the past, and we can talk about that more. But the whole point now, how do we build different vehicle that actually coincide and actually it's a symbiotic relationship with the main thing itself, which is the clinic for me. And then lastly, this is where we all want to go, which is wealth multipliers. This is someone who actually have a financial freedom, right? And the definition of financial freedom is that have more cash flow coming in than it is going out. And if you can do that over and over and over again, you have freedom, right? If you look on my Instagram bio, right, 3 things I'm really important to me is faith, family, and freedom. I want to have the freedom to choose what I get to do every single day. And right now, this is what I get to choose to do. I get to choose to come in, talk to Chestin, share some knowledge, and really express my hardship when it comes to entrepreneurship. So that's the way I look at the success staircase that we have laying out, right? So as you guys are watching this, I really want you to take 5-10 minutes as you're watching on the replay, identify where you're at, and then from there, be okay with that identity, and then figure out, for me to get from a solo practitioner to a small business manager, what do I need to do? If you're a small business manager, what do you need to do to be a CEO? And then from a CEO to a clinic owner, for me, I would put myself as a clinic owner who inspired to go to wealth multipliers. So that's how I want to start off this discussion. I need you guys to assess where you're at, be extremely honest with yourself, because when you have honest conversation with yourself, then you can build a path to go to the next level.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in here and just say, I think, and what we're talking about, and what you'll hear us talk about going forward is your clinic is the vehicle to get you to that level of wealth multiplier. Like that is the vehicle that you can use to generate that cash flow, to generate those assets, those resources, to then go out and invest in other ways to multiply that wealth. But in order to get there, we have to have that initial vehicle that's going to take us and get us to that point, to give us that ability. And so, that's what we want to talk about, and that's what we want to share, how we've done that with Natty, the systems and processes that we've implemented and developed to help generate that ongoing consistent cash flow to get you to each of those different levels, but ultimately get you to that point where you're a wealth multiplier, where you have that freedom and flexibility and the resources to then turn around and take the results from your clinic and put it into other businesses or other avenues that's only going to multiply that wealth, on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. So I think we got some other awesome graphic too. So let's get into that. So I think from the granular perspective, right, Chestin, you can explain this way better than I am, because you're more detail oriented.
Yeah. So really, all this is doing is this is just kind of just showing at each of the different levels what some of your responsibilities are, and then the value of those tasks that are required at each of those levels. So at the solo practitioner level, you are basically the lead generator. It's your job to go out and generate interest and attention for your business. You're the one that is fulfilling on the service. It's you that's meeting with patients, doing discovery calls, visits, evaluations, performing the treatment. In terms of, again, managing the teams, all the things that need to get done, that's you that's doing it. And there really is no plan for those profits. I mean, it's just kind of your, cash flows. You're just trying to get more coming in every month than what goes out. And if you look at it, a lot of those activities are really $10 tasks. Like you could, if you had the resources, if you had the team, you could pay someone $10 an hour to probably do a lot of these things, not all of them, but a lot of those things. And as you move up that ladder to the small business manager, that's where, you're more, instead of just generating demand, you're actually, you have done enough to generate attention to start to actually have people coming to you through the marketing, through the systems you've set up. So you're now more fulfilling demand. The fulfillment, it's an untrained salesperson, someone you've brought on. Maybe they definitely don't have the experience, the ability to have some of those conversations. And so they're trying to learn as they go. You're the one responsible for managing all of the teams to make sure that things are happening how and when they should. And then you're almost in a reactive mode, solving problems as they come up, as opposed to being able to kind of plan ahead and project what problems might come up so that you can implement solutions proactively. The rate here, again, about $100. You could probably pay someone $100 to come in and do some of these things. But if you end up doing them, that's kind of what you're paying yourself, basically, is that. Mm-hmm. Once you're able to make that jump to that clinic CEO, that's when you have market presence. As Natty talked about, you have a brand that people know, that they recognize. When they think about the services that you provide, your business is the one that comes to mind. You have a trained sales team, and you're not the one that's training them on an ongoing basis, but they have scripts they follow. They're very good at what they do. They review their sales calls or their visits or their, evals. And so they're able to go back and course correct as needed. You have someone leading those teams that is not you. You have people responsible for the different areas of your business. And then in terms of profits, now you can start to look at things on a quarterly basis because you have consistent cash flow. You have consistent, leads coming in. And so you're able to then project what that business is going to look like on a quarter to quarter basis. Your rate here, again, is much higher because you're doing higher value things. You're leading, you're directing, you're guiding people, you're creating, you're helping your team to implement solutions and tools and SOPs to address the various, responsibilities and things that need to get done to grow your business. And then once you finally get up to that clinic owner position, you're more omnipresent. You don't have to do as much marketing because people just know who you are because of the things that you've done in the past, the work that you've put in. You have sales leaders and processes in place for all of the different things when it comes to fulfillment, accepting those calls, moving people through that sales process, getting them in for visits and evals, selling them on, plans of care, actually delivering those treatment solutions that you've presented. And then again, here you have a much broader perspective in terms of being able to project cash flow and profits. And so you can plan on an annual basis. This year we want to do this, or we want to invest in this. We need to do more here. And so we're going to put some money over here. You have the resources and the infrastructure to be able to do that. And as you sit at the top of that, the things that you're doing are worth $10,000 because one decision you make, one strategy you decide to implement and then direct your team to go could have, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue to the clinic. And so the goal is to, as you move up this ladder, so to speak, the staircase, the things that you do become more valuable to the clinic, but you're also elevating your position and your worth because you're able to, you have the time, you have the teams, you have the resources, you have the systems and processes in place to where now you can sit back and just think about the things that you need to happen. And you can direct your team to go out and carry out those plans as opposed to you having to be the one that's actually doing all the work. And so our goal is to help you move systematically and strategically through this staircase to go from, the $10 an hour task to the $100 to the $1,000 to the $10,000 or more hour tasks, which is where, as a business owner, I mean, unless you're a glutton for punishment, I think we all want to get to. We all want to get to that point to where we're doing high value tasks and that's all we're doing. But to get there, we have to have that infrastructure in place, that those systems in place that allow us, that give us the freedom, that give us the flexibility, that give us the accountability to ourselves and our team to make sure that things are happening how and when they need to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, to really sum it up, right? So I love Patrick Best David, and he summed it up in three things, right? in the first stage, as a employee and solo practitioner, you need to outwork. You need to outwork your previous self. You need to outwork the market. And when we have PT students coming in here, I tell them all the time, I say, guys, you are just a professional student. You're going to be in the real world. The market has no idea who you are. You have not proven anything. Like, the market will always determine your worth, right? When I first started, I charged $80, right? And now we're at $349 per session. And I just didn't go over that overnight, because I have to make sure that the market validate my existence, that we have a good product, right? So you have to outwork to get that validation in some way, right? And then to get to the small business manager and to the clinic CEO, you have to out strategize. You have to out strategize everybody in the market, right? At the end of the day, we're competing against big businesses. We're competing against the big corporation, every single thing, big healthcare, big insurance, right? You have to learn how to out strategize. The blessing of being a small business owner is that we have our voice, right? Me compared to all the other big brand PTs, that I get to come in here and I get to share my story. When it comes to that, that's a strength, guys. Make sure you leverage that, right? Because you can get to out strategize those big company. And then the last thing to get me from point A to point Z of how I view my life, to have the 100% freedom that I crave, is to outlast people, right? The longer you stay in business, the longer you're going to be known for something. And you keep doing good work, have good fulfillment, have good team, and your team actually care and give a shit about the patient or the person they're calling, that's going to go a long way. And that's how you outlast your competition, right? Yep. Where I'm at right now, we have 15 clinics within 5-mile radius, right? My focus is not to compete with them. My focus is to compete with me, compete with the previous version of myself. How do I compete against the version of small business manager version of Natty, right? How do I do that better and better? And, next we're going to go into let's go through granular, right? Why don't we do that, Chestin?
Yeah.
Again, the whole point is it's going under the hood, right? So let's go.
Yeah. So this
how
is
we
where,
came up with all these things. Yeah.
This is where I get to geek out. So what we want to do now is just kind of talk through, because all of these things require a foundation. Like, it requires systems and processes and foundational elements to help you systematically ascend this staircase to get to the clinic owner, freedom entrepreneur, wealth entrepreneur. None of that is possible if you're just flying by the seat of your pants. You've got solutions duct taped together, and they don't work coherently. So what we want to walk through now is kind of what we call a growth engine. And a growth engine is essentially, if you think about a vehicle, it is the engine of your vehicle. It is the means by which you propel your business forward. And it's complex, it's complicated, it's integrated with all different systems of the car. And not that you have to understand necessarily all of the components, but at the very least, you need to make sure that you can control that engine, that you can read the dashboard, the outputs from that engine, and then adjust accordingly. And so that's what we want to dive into now, is actually go through and talk about building this process of building a growth engine. And so there are really 5 core pillars of this business growth engine. And when we talk about growth engine, we're talking about essentially the sales and marketing aspect of your business. There's a fulfillment engine that we'll talk about later. And that relates to once you actually get a patient. So you've gone through the process, you've done all the visits, you've done that initial eval, you've presented your plan of care, they've accepted it. There is a fulfillment engine that you want to design and build as well. That's not what this is about. We'll talk about that probably in a later episode. But each of these, I want you to think about strategically how it relates to your clinic and where you're at. So the foundation really of this business growth engine, there's really 5 core pillars. The first one is getting attention. That essentially just means you're getting awareness for who you are. You're letting people know that you exist, that you have a solution to specific problems that you can solve. The next thing you want to do is actually own that attention. And when I say own that attention, I mean you have the ability to proactively go in, to get in front of those people, to present your solution, to position yourself as the expert for the problems that they have, the solutions that they're looking for. The next thing, once you own that attention, and there's a couple of ways you can own that attention. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But once you actually own that attention, you want to date this person. Like, just because you've got their attention, just because you've engaged them in a conversation, doesn't mean that you immediately propose marriage. If you went on a first date and at the end of the date, the guy was like, man, you're amazing. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? That's probably not going to happen. And so we have to slowly, systematically educate and nurture that prospect. And I've got a little spelling out here. Let me see if I can fix that. You've got to nurture and educate that prospect so that over time, they come to realize and recognize that you have the solutions to the problems that they're experiencing, that you are the best option available to them. All right. So there's a lot of things that we need to do to make that happen, because people don't like to be sold, but they like to buy. And so we want to help them make that buying decision and feel that once they have made that decision, that they've made the best decision they possibly could. In order to make that happen, make that transition from a lead or a prospect, you're engaging them, to actually becoming a patient, we need to have what's called conversion mechanisms, or tools that we use to help make that transition easier. All throughout this process, we kind of want to baby step those prospects along throughout their patient journey. And these conversion mechanisms are simply tools that we use to help initiate those conversations, to help make those transitions easier, help make that buying decision easier for the patient. And then once we actually have the patient, we've put them through our fulfillment engine. We've done the things that we've said we could do. They're coming out the back end. Then the next thing we want to do is maximize that lifetime value of that patient. Because if we can, it's 10 times easier to resell an existing customer or patient than it is to get a new one. Unfortunately, most of the gurus, most of what you hear out there is talking about getting new leads, new patients. And yes, that's important, but we don't want to forget about maximizing the value of each patient that we have, or even each contact that we have, so that we can then increase the amount of revenue we have. We don't have to increase the number of people. We just need to increase the amount that we sell them, or the frequency. And so there's some ways that we want to talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, this is just basic Dan Kennedy, right? That's our mentor. That's where we learn from. I mean, the dating analogy makes sense, right? Again, you got to go get the first date, then get the second date, and then do all of that, right? The whole point when it comes to educate and lead nurturing is, how do you get someone to trust you? That's all it is. We're in healthcare. We have an oath that we took. We want to make sure that we are actually the right fit for that individual that's calling, that's showing up, right? Because if I can't provide a good service, I'm going to do them a disservice, right? So I want to make sure that the person in front of me is the right fit. And you have to be able to do that by getting your message out, right? That's how you get the attention. And then you own it by just, again, keep doing the same thing over and over again. When I coach someone, I always tell them, like, hey, who are you for and who are you not for? That's the first step to getting the right message out. One thing I've learned when I was in Inner Circle was this one guy, Neil Davidson. He came on the stage and he said one thing that's so profound. And I just said that to myself. It's like, visibility beats ability, right? So let me say that again. Visibility, how much people know and seeing you, will beat ability, right? If people don't know or seeing you, you don't have an opportunity to show what you're able to do. As a provider, as a clinician, you're good at what you do, right? But the issue is that, how do you get people to see that? How do you get people to trust you? How do you get them to actually say, you know what? Here's a credit card. I want to put my care into your hands. And, the niche that we have in Myokinetix, we work with season-ending injuries. So we're dealing with parents and kids, right? And we deal with people who've been through multiple, ringer of like fail care, right? So we have to build that trust. There's already a distrust in the system within itself. So we have to overcome that, right? We always talk about, again, going back to dating, everyone have their own baggages. Everyone have their own bad experience or bad dates. You have to overcome that. How are you different from the last guy? That's the whole point. And you do it in the most ethical way by just saying, like, here, listen, I'm here for you because I'm able to do X, Y, and Z. And here's what I'm really good at. And if you're dealing with something else other than that I'm not the best person for you. Here's someone I would recommend, right? And it's okay to say that.
Yeah, totally. All right, so let's kind of dig deeper a little bit into these, and let's actually go through what some of these assets for each of these different pillars look like. So again, generate attention is simply getting visibility. As Natty said, visibility beats ability every time. If people don't know who you are, you're not going to have the opportunity to provide your solutions. And so fortunately, there are lots of tools, especially, given the digital, digital landscape and what, the time that we live in today, there are plenty of assets that we can create or have at our disposal. So just to kind of run through a real quick, you've got paid ads, Facebook, YouTube, Google AdWords, Google LSA is a new kind of an up and coming one, that's available to healthcare providers. You've got your social profiles, all the channels that you are active on. Sorry about that. You've got organic search. So someone goes to a search engine, whether it's Google or Bing or YouTube, all of those are considered search engines. And so you want to make sure that you're visible in those when someone is looking. Now, there is a difference between your social profiles and organic search, even the paid ads to a certain extent. The social channels, this is what we consider to be demand generation. So when we went back, when I was showing that pyramid earlier, this is where you're actually generating a demand. People go to social, to their Facebook or their Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, not necessarily because they're looking for something, but because they just want to see what's going on in the world around them. So they're kind of scrolling through casually. So anytime you put something there, you're trying to generate that demand for your services. Whereas organic search, those people are proactively going to these locations and looking for solutions. They are looking for the services that you provide. It may be, inadvertently, maybe they have neck pain, or, maybe they felt a little twinge in their knee, or they've kind of been struggling recently in their workouts. And so they're going to find solutions. They're proactively taking steps to find those solutions. And so we want to make sure that when we position ourselves or when we're in each of those different channels, that we understand the psychology and mindset of those people that are there, so that we can then craft and tailor those messages accordingly to start that conversation and hopefully own that attention. Then you've got partners and affiliates, local businesses that already service your ideal patients. It could be other healthcare providers, it could be accountants, it could be, lawn care, whatever the case may be. Other businesses that, again, already have the relationship and the audience. They already own the attention of those people that you want to get in touch with. Another one, local Facebook groups. There's tons of those. I bet you if you went on Facebook right now and search for local groups in your area, you would find those. So those are a great opportunity to join the conversation. Again, strategically position yourself as the expert, present the solutions that you provide, and you can get a flood of potential patients and, leads and patients through that. You've got your local schools and teams. We work with several clients that, are partnered up with the local schools. And so they get a number of patients through those relationships that they develop there. Sponsorship, signage, PR. Some of these are a little bit old school, but they're still effective. Mm-hmm. They still work. And then you also have local events, fitness competitions, CrossFit competitions, health fairs, local town fairs, whatever the case may be. Those are all opportunities for you to get attention. And so what you want to do is identify as many of these attention-getting opportunities as you can, and somehow position yourself, utilize those opportunities to get your message, to get your brand, get your services and solution in front of those people that are there, so that you can then grow that customer base and create a steady, consistent stream of leads.
Yeah. So I'm just going to just give you a quick win when it comes to that. Because again, if you're new to this, you're going to be overwhelmed, because that's a lot of things you have to do and you have to optimize. The biggest quick win is to go to the local communities, go to people that, like boots on the ground, knock on the door, tell people who you are, right? Offer your service. Like, honestly, I mean, like, seriously, offer your time. Be like, hey, listen, I know you own a CrossFit gym. I know you own, a soccer academy. Is it okay if I treat you or one of your coaches? Right. So that way you can see what I do. Back in the day, right, we have this concept of apprenticeship, which is you volunteer your time to learn from the master at some sort of craft. And then by learning from them, by volunteering your time, you get better, right? You need to earn trust by doing those things, right? When I first started, I would go to every CrossFit gym. I would tell them exactly what I do. I'd say, listen, I have my CrossFit level 2. I've been doing CrossFit for a long time. I used to compete in weightlifting. Can I just treat you? What are you dealing with right now? Most of the time, people are going to be like, you know what? I don't have any pain. I'm feeling pretty good. And he's like, you know what? Can I actually just see how you move? Like, what about your PR? When's the last time you actually hit a snatch PR? Right? Or like when you miss your PR, where are you missing it? Is it forward, backward? What happened? Is it your cash position? Is it like because you can, internally rotate your elbow. You can't turn the barbell over as quick as enough, right? Your job is to optimize every single thing, right? Just because they don't have pain doesn't mean you can't help them. So go boots on the ground, talk to as many people as possible. They need to know who you are and be genuine about it.
Yep.
Right? People can smell when you're after something. That's it. If they don't book, they don't buy, they don't send you anyone, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, you're just going to be sitting there and doing nothing.
Yep.
Right? There's no such thing as doing nothing. And I remember when I had a free time, when I was in the closet with my portable table, I'd say, what can I do right now to drive my business going forward? I was like, all right, reach out. I already talked to people. Guess what? Now I'm gonna do some content. Like what I see right now that people need the most, right? CrossFit Open just finished. Guess what? During the CrossFit Open season, when I used to see a lot of CrossFit athletes, I would stay till 10 o'clock at night to create a warm-up routine and a cool-down routine for each individual open workout. Those are something that you can do right now that will actually put a stake on the ground as your place in the marketplace.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, no, that's great. So the next step, once you've actually gathered that attention, again, the goal is to grow your database. And when we say own the attention, it means getting name, email, phone number at the very least. That way we can proactively reach out and market to those people. We can position our message in front of them when we want. We're not dependent upon, the Facebook algorithm or the Instagram algorithm to put our message in front of someone in their feed. We're not dependent on them going to Google to search for us, but we actually have the ability to proactively engage with those prospects and deliver our message so that we can nurture and educate them. There's a number of ways to do this using free reports or lead magnets, contact forms on your websites, call, text, or chat, having those functions and abilities on your Google business profile, your social profiles, your website, anywhere where you're present online, having a number that someone could call, text, or chat to actually capture and engage that conversation. Special offers, if you're running ads, if you have like a seasonal offer that you're running, putting those in your content in your social media, running ads directly for those offers are ways that you can capture that attention. Giving people the ability to self-book discovery calls. I mean, nowadays people people want to control their time. And so giving them the ability to pick the date and time to have a call with someone is invaluable. It saves you and your staff from having to play phone tag to try to reach someone to get them on the schedule. And it allows them just to go in and look at their schedule and match it up with your schedule and book a time to talk. Again, it's just simply a conversation where you can start to understand them and understand their needs and what they're trying to do, and then share with them how you can help. But this is a way that you can own that attention to begin nurturing and engaging them. And then, if there's any local events, obviously getting them to register, getting their information so you can share some valuable related information at the particular event that you're at. Once you have that attention, or once you own that attention, again, very least name, email, phone number, then we want to start the nurture and educate process. And this is where again, you're kind of warming them up. You're educating them on how you can help. You're positioning yourself as the expert. You're painting a picture of what your solution looks like and giving them some insight into what it would look like to work with you. We do that using automated follow-up messages that could include text messages, emails, social media messages, even direct mail. There's a lot of things that we can include in those automated follow-up messages. Having an email newsletter, consistent email newsletter, is one of the best things that you could do. Yes, there's a lot of people that don't read it or won't pay attention, but those that do are your most engaged and most likely to at some point take that next step in the process and eventually become a patient. Creating authority assets is invaluable. Natty, you just wrote a book, about ACL rehab. I'm sure that when you mention that, or when people come in, or when you talk to them, you're like, yeah, hey, here's a free copy of the book that I just wrote on ACL rehab. I mean, that immediately positions you as the expert just because of the status that books have. So creating assets like that position you as the expert go a long way towards, again, nurturing them and getting them to helping them to gain trust in you. Yeah. Doing things like live reach outs, having your staff call them, following up consistently, letting them know that you are relentless in wanting to help them because you are confident in your ability to help them. Now, we don't want to be annoying. We don't want to be, salesmen, so to speak, but just reaching out, offering solutions, asking questions, kind of digging in and starting to figure out, the issues that they're having, so that you can then present the solutions that you have, goes a long way towards strengthening that relationship and helping them move systematically through that journey. This is one that is often overlooked, but retargeting ads. Like, this is one of the best ways, even though we're not capturing name, phone number, and email in this case. If someone hits any one of your properties and you have a retargeting pixel, that allows you then to follow that person around the internet with ads, with information, with videos, with content that, again, only strengthens your brand positioning, strengthens your position as the expert and the one with the solutions that you have for their particular problems. And the nice thing is, they're super cheap. Like, they're significantly cheaper than running the normal ads to cold traffic. If you can run retargeting ads and get in front of those people on a consistent basis, number one, you're becoming omnipresent. They're just going to start to think, man, this guy's everywhere. I like his content. I like what he's saying. I think they're the one that I'm going to go with. Having a YouTube channel. I mean, how much I'm embarrassed to admit how much time I probably spend on a daily basis watching YouTube shorts or watching YouTube videos, because that's how I consume content. I can't even tell you the last time I sat down to watch a TV show. I've watched March Madness, but outside of that, I can't tell you the last time that I actually sat down and watched an entire episode of a TV show, because all of the content that I'm consuming now is on YouTube, is on social media. And so you want to think about that as how you can position yourself as the expert and nurture and educate those prospects that you have. Your website obviously is an important piece of that puzzle. Having the information, mentioning the services, talking about how your process works, having testimonials or social proof are critical to helping build that positioning and nurturing and educating your prospects. And then, of course, social media. I think that goes without saying, having a presence there, posting valuable content that helps people identify problems, identify solutions, that positions you as the expert, shares testimonials, shares social proof, case studies, behind the scenes of how you work and how your process works, so they can get comfortable with that. Those are all types of things that we want to make sure that we include in your arsenal, so to speak.
Yeah. So just a quick win on that for you guys. Like, I know we don't want to sound like we're pestering, we're bothering people, but you're not bothering anyone if you're giving them something of value, right? So the way I approach writing weeklies in the email, we go into the whole framework of like, okay, what kind of value do we want to deliver this week, right? Can we give them a recipe? Can we give them an exercise that we do, right? Can we make sure that we actually give them something that is going to solve that problem right now, right? That's going back to like just the tagging system, right? If you have someone's coming in, you're doing a shoulder workshop and you're getting the name, their phone number, the email, and you don't tag them under shoulder and you send them something for their knees, that's not going to work, right? That's speaking two different languages. By just tagging, making sure like, hey, these are my shoulder people, I'm going to send them all shoulder related content, right? This is my knee person, I'm going to send them all these things, right? Like Chestin knows, like I love following up with people just because I know for a fact people are busy. They're not ignoring me on purpose, because who wouldn't want to get better, right? People want to solve their pain problem. Sometimes it's just not that bad. Like, but when it gets bad enough, they want to make sure that like, oh wait, this person has been contacting me this whole time. I try X, Y, and Z exercise they sent to me, and I actually feel better. Like, imagine if I actually come in, they can probably help me solve my problem faster, right? People often pay for speed and they pay for customized care, right? So you always want to be in front of them in that whole time. So if you guys have that hang up on, I don't know what to send. No, that's a lie. You guys know what you need to do, right? We're PTs. We know what we need to do. Just make sure you show up for them and just keep showing up, right? Gary, talking about jab, jab, hook, right? Just keep jabbing until they actually say, you know what? This is the right place for me to be. I mean, we have our ACL email sequences is it's a year long, right? By next month, I'm going to make that 2 years. And why is that? Because on average, people who have ACL reconstruction will re-tear within 2 years because they stopped doing the thing that got them better in the first place. Because I know that facts, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep talking to them for the next 2 years to make sure that they still see value, the exercise that we gave them a year ago, 2 years ago,
Yep.
Right? This is how you want to show up for people.
Yep. Yeah, it's so critical. You guys are, and you mentioned getting hung up on what to say, like you don't know what to say. Yes, you do. It's just pulling that information out, extracting that information, and putting it in a format that you can deliver on a consistent basis in a way that is going to connect with the audience. So you have more than enough knowledge and information. Now it's just a matter of just maybe figuring out the process to get that out and then get that in front of your folks. The next thing, though, the next step in this process, the next pillar is the conversion mechanisms. And this is how you take those leads, you've got their attention, you own that attention, you've nurtured, you've educated them. Now these are kind of those tools that we use to help make that transition to an actual patient. Just some very obvious things: discovery visits or evaluations, actually getting that person in, meeting with them, getting eyes on them, so to speak, putting them through some type of an assessment, doing an evaluation, and presenting a solution. We want to make sure that we have those scripted, that we're following a process to identify the solution, address the problems, and then systematically present the solution in a way that, again, is not salesy. It's allowing them to make that decision, and you're simply presenting how you are the best solution for the problems that they have. Special offers is another great way. I'm not a fan of discounting services, but there are absolutely things that you can add on to the services that you offer that will help incentivize someone to make that decision, to take that next step. Another great one is just having service packages, like having predefined packages that you offer, so that when you present them to someone, you're not giving them just a whole menu of things that you could do, but you have very clearly defined packages to address the problems that they're having, and very clearly defined solutions or expectations that they could get from those. If you have those clearly defined and you help direct them and guide them to the one that you think is best and why you think that's best, that decision to buy is so much easier, because they're not having to do the mental math. They're not having to, consider this and, a la carte, do I want this or do I want this? No, this is what we offer. This is what you're going to get. This is how much it costs. Another thing is, this is a Dan Kennedy trick, but something called a shock and awe package. So when someone gets to a certain point in your process, sending them something that just completely just obliterates any objection, any reason for not taking action. It solidifies your position as the expert in what you do. It just highlights how it is that you can help them. And there's a number of ways that you can do this, but just presenting that and having that at some point in that process is a way to get those people that are, maybe not quite decided, they're kind of leaning, or maybe they have, and you just want to solidify that purchase. Having some type of a shock and awe package that just is going to put them over the edge, and it's really going to set you up for success with them as a patient. And then the last thing is just define processes. Again, if a patient or prospective patient comes in and they're talking with you, and you're just kind of like hemming and hawing and kind of meandering around how you could help them, that doesn't necessarily breed confidence. But if they come in and you very clearly and confidently say, all right, this is what I see, this is what needs to happen, this is the process that we're going to go through, this is how long it's going to take, this is what you can expect, this is your responsibility as part of this process, and this is what you can expect at the end, that breeds a great deal of confidence, because they're already nervous. They're already concerned with, as Natty said, a lot of people have had bad experiences. And so if you can go in and confidently say that what you're going to do, how you're going to address their problems, what it's going to look like, how long it's going to take, what their responsibilities are, and what the expectation is on the back end, they're going to feel that confidence in you, and they're going to make that decision to ultimately end up doing business with you.
Yeah, just to add in, when it comes to the packages, guys, you prescribe packages, right? You know exactly how much people are going to need, right? If they come in with like a soft tissue injuries, that's going to take 8 to 12 weeks, right? You say, hey, listen, based on the research, based on this, in an ideal world, for you to get back from for playing basketball, you're going to need X amount of visit, right? And this is how we structure it. And you just prescribe. I mean, that's our job, right? We're not asking. And again, this is coming from my previous experience. I used to be like, oh, you can come see me once a week, and then for the next 3 weeks, and then that's it, right? But then I'm not really helping people, because if you look at, again, old school principle of strength conditioning, right? For you to get hypertrophy, it's going to take 12 weeks, right? So if we need to do that, we will tell them as such, right? I used to do this when I was doing personal training or doing Olympic weightlifting coaching. I was like, hey, listen, this program, we're going to do this for 12 weeks. And then after that, that's going to be the next training block. So they are paying you for a roadmap to success, and they're paying you for your expertise. Please do not let them dictate what they need, because if they know what they need, they don't need you in the first place.
Yep. You are the expert.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to tell them exactly what needs to happen in the process and the way it needs to happen. All right. The last thing is maximize value. So once you actually have that patient, they've been, they've completed treatment, they've graduated, they're ready to go out into the world, so to speak. That doesn't mean that we're done positioning value and offers to them. So things like upsell offers, additional add-on training packages or maintenance packages, digital subscriptions, having some type of a membership site where they get access to nutrition or workout protocols, training regimens, check-ins, accountability, things like that. Maybe it's an in-person membership. If you're a part of a gym or you're affiliated with a gym, giving them some type of membership to the gym, ongoing training, supplements. And then as far as just maximizing that value in terms of what they can bring to the business, making sure you're getting reviews and having a systematic and automated approach to capturing those reviews to get those out there in the world so that more people can see it. You can get more visibility. You get more trust from those people that are searching and potentially considering you. Asking them for referrals. Like, I think this is one of the most overlooked opportunities that there is having a systematic process to ask every single graduating patient to provide referrals. Make it easy for them. Give them tools and resources so that they can share with their friends or family members or associates that they have to, again, refer you to build your brand, to build your awareness, so that you can then grow your business. An email newsletter. Again, I think this is one of the most underutilized tools that there is, because chances are, as Natty said, people re-tear their ACL in 2 years. Well, if you're not there in front of them, if you haven't continually built and nurtured that relationship over that period of time, who's to say they're going to come back to you? Yes, maybe they had a good experience, but maybe, their friend referred, another doctor down the street. And so they're going to go to them. But if you're able to stay in touch with them and continually nurture them, educate them, position yourself as the expert and the one with the solutions that they're looking for, then you're going to increase the chances of being able to get that patient, at a later date. Or at the very least, maybe they refer a friend or a family member that has a need that you can help solve. And then special recognition. Like, this is an easy one, but sending birthday messages. People love to get recognized on their birthday. Sending them a hard copy greeting card, sending them a text message, doing something like that just to recognize and let them know that you haven't forgotten about them, that you value them, that you're willing to take time out of your day, to send them that special recognition goes a long way towards cementing that relationship and ultimately maximizing that lifetime value. And then things like special events. I know Natty's done this in the past where he's had like, special dinners for past patients or special events,
Mm-hmm.
Renting out a movie theater and inviting all of your patients to come, or, doing some type of party at the office, doing things like that and inviting those past patients to come back in again, just it solidifies that relationship. And it just ensures that down the road, even though they're not currently a patient, down the road, if the opportunity comes up where they need your help or they know someone that does, you are going to be the one that they think of and you're going to be the one that they refer to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, guys, you don't have to go and like rent out movie theater, right? You start with what you can do, right?
Yeah.
There's a really good book called Unreasonable Hospitality, and it's talking about how this one restaurant in New York City was able to go from a 1 Michelin star to 3. And they're talking about doing those little things, right? For us, if we know that some of our athletes just got accepted in their dream college, we give them a congratulation card, right? We might even get them like a sticker. They might get the first sticker to put on their car that they're going to that school, right? Those little things means a lot. You don't have to go above and beyond and spend crazy amount of money. Just be thoughtful. Again, treat someone as an individual, right? Make them feel seen and heard. That's the best way to nurture, to retain, and to actually build a tribe of people, right?
Yep.
To sum it all up, right? I mean, Chestin talking about system, talking about being able to do these things over and over again. The whole point of having a system so that you have consistent outcome, right? And that's why you need a team of people that will buy into your system, and you teach your team based on the system that you have, not the other way around. Because I have made mistake in the past where I build system on the individual, but guess what? The individual, when they get up and leave, now what do you have? Right? You want a proven system. That's why we're showing you what works, right? This is under the hood. Yep. The whole point of this is when you go back, you look at what you're doing right now, and just make that a standard. Okay? Because with the pro guys that we work with, And when I asked him, like, how do you get to be really good? It's like, I just go back to what works. Right? Tackle is the same thing, unless, like this week, they just changed the way you're not allowed to tackle anymore. So now you're going to have to go in and then revamp that system. But those who wants to end up in a Pro Bowl, they're going to have to learn how to play with the new rules.
Yep.
Because that's how life is. You got to be flexible, and you also got to be driven at the same time.
Yep.
I know it's a lot that we go over, but again, this is what it takes to be successful. And we just literally we just scratched the surface.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to come back. Yeah, we'll have to come back because let me just show everyone a sneak peek of what an actual growth engine looks like, how we can utilize all of those assets that we just talked about in a step-by-step manner to systematically capture attention, get attention, own the attention, nurture and educate using conversion mechanisms, and then maximize the lifetime value. So maybe next week we can go over this and go through it in detail, because I want to show step by step how you can utilize these tools. And ultimately it comes down to asking one question. And the question when we're designing this growth engine is, what happens now? You should be able to answer that question for every single step in the process, in the patient journey, in your systems. When something happens, when a decision point is reached, what happens now? And you need to have an answer and a solution for that. And so next week, we'll actually go through this in detail and break this down and give you a step-by-step of how to look at your clinic, how to look at your systems, and how you can design and implement something like this.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for just tuning in. That's the time that Chestin and I have for today. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to join our community, join our Facebook group, right? Yep. Leave a comment on this YouTube video, so that way we know, like, what is some gap that we can identify for you guys, right? The whole point is to just build a massive movement, get a group of people, a group of us, badass clinicians together, so we can grow together, right? I'm just trying to pass on some of the harsh experience I have in the past. And then Chestin's here to just navigate and tell you guys, like, all right, here's something you can do today to grow your practice. So, I appreciate your time, Chestin. Thank you again, man, for just doing this. I love shopping it up with you. This is great. We're already passing it forward.
So if you want to join the Facebook group, it's just facebook.com/badass clinicians.
Yep.
It's a free group to join. We're going to be we'll post a replay of this. We're going to be posting, we're going to be going live every week. We're going to be posting tons of content, going deep into this stuff, as well as strategies, tactics, how to actually implement these things that we talk about, so that our goal is to help as many clinicians as possible build a growth engine in their business, so that growth engine can then turn into that profit and that capital that helps accelerate them and send them up that ladder to being able to be a freedom and a wealth entrepreneur.
Yep. All right, guys, that's all the time we got for today. I'm going to give Chestin a nice clap over here, so that way we can just go. And then that's it. And we'll see you guys next week. Next week's going to be on Wednesday. Just stay tuned for the announcement.
Yes.